What if you have to buy a perfect shampoo for your hair and you land into a messy supermarket like this? Will it be a good idea to shop from here? Not really. What could help us here in this situation is classification or arrangement. When different things in supermarket are arranged according to their usage, their brands, shopping becomes a cakewalk. So a clever arrangement can make us work in an easy way. Just like the mess in supermarket, long ago there existed a mess of elements. Scientists knew that elements are the basic form of materials, and when they combine with each other in different ways, they make up various materials we see around us. A few elements were already known to man since ancient times, which were naturally obtained from earth, and some elements were discovered through experiments. With time, the number of elements being discovered increased, but with this came a problem. With so many elements, it became difficult for scientists to remember which elements can combine with each other to form other materials. So for a scientist, it was just like going to a messy supermarket in search for the one particular element he wanted to study. This made scientists feel the need for an arrangement or classification of elements. What do you think is the easiest way to classify things? Putting things having similar property in one group, right? Even scientists did the same thing. They started classifying elements depending on some properties like being solids, malleability, conductivity, and few more. So they classified elements that showed all these properties as metals and the other elements as non-metals. But this did not help much because of some reasons. While dividing elements in two groups, the scientists did not realize that they have put a lot of elements in one group called the metals. So whenever any scientist wanted to experiment with a metal having some special properties, searching for it would be a big task. It was just like arranging all the items in the supermarket in two groups, eatables and non-eatables. Still, if you want to buy a shampoo, you will have to search the entire section of non-eatables. This was the first reason due to which classifying elements in this way did not help. The number of elements falling in one particular group was so large that it did not serve the purpose of classification. Then came another surprise. The properties that were used to classify elements did not draw a clear line of division. For example, conductivity was one of the properties considered for classifying things as metals and non-metals. Elements that were good conductors of electricity were called metals, whereas elements that were poor conductors of electricity were called non-metals under normal conditions. But when the element lead was considered, scientists found out that it is a metal but does not conduct electricity easily as other metals do. Now they were confused. So the properties that were considered as the basis of classification varied under different conditions. But the story doesn't end here. The next thing that came up shook the scientists completely. There was an element antimony, which was considered to be a metal, as it showed some metallic properties. But some other form of antimony did not show any metallic property. And just like antimony, few other elements were found to have dual properties, both of metals and non-metals. It was just like classifying all the medicines into the eatable section of a supermarket. You cannot completely call them edible, nor can you call them inedible, right? They need to be put in another section called pharmacy. Thus, elements that show dual properties like antimony needed to be put in some different group. Now, due to all these problems, there arose a need of very systematic way of classification of elements. And from then on, we had a lot of scientists who came up with different ideas of classification, leading to the final idea of having a periodic table.